If you've ever cried in a dark kitchen so your kid wouldn't hear you, you'll recognize this morning. Burnt coffee, a rattling radiator, and that tight feeling in your chest before the sun even shows up. I stood at our tiny sink in East Harborview, staring at a chipped mug, trying to breathe through it, because today was the anniversary. 5 years since the Riverline commuter crash. 5 years since my wife, Claire, got on the 712 and never came home. I'm Mason Reed. Single dad. I fix things for a living. Hospital maintenance at night, repair calls on weekends, anything that keeps the lights on for me and my son, Owen. He was 3 when we lost Claire. Now he's 8, all questions and confidence, the kind of kid who still thinks his dad can solve anything if he tries hard enough. I didn't tell Owen what day it was. I never do. I made pancakes, packed his lunch, smiled until my cheeks hurt, then dropped him with Mrs. Klein downstairs and headed to Harborview Central with a cheap bouquet of sunflowers. Claire loved sunflowers. She said they looked like people choosing hope on purpose. The plan was simple. Train to Stonebridge, Memorial Wall, flowers, a few quiet words, then back before evening. But money was tight in the way that changes how you walk. I had $42. My ticket was $31. The flowers were $9. That left me $2 until Friday, and a pride so brittle it could shatter if someone looked at it wrong. Platform 6 was packed, everyone in a rush, everyone pretending not to see anyone else. Near the far bench sat an older man in a wheelchair, dressed well but folded inward like the air weighed too much. Next to him was a crushed bundle of flowers, petals mashed and wet. He stared at the tracks like he was waiting for something that already left. I tried to walk past. I told myself, Mason, you can't afford to get involved today. But he looked up, and his eyes stopped me cold. That hollow, exhausted stare people get when they're not scared of dying, they're scared of living like this another day. I knew that look because I wore it after Claire. The kind of months where you go to work, feed your kid, pay the bills, and still feel like you're watching your own life through glass. Sir, I said, gentle, you all right? He blinked slow. No, he answered. Someone robbed me. Wallet, phone. Everything. I can't buy a ticket, can't call my driver. I've been asking for help, and people keep walking like I'm invisible. Where are you headed? I asked. Stonebridge, he said, throat catching. The Memorial Garden. My stomach flipped. Same place. Same day. I nodded toward the crushed flowers. For your wife? He swallowed. Yes. What's your name? Walter, he said. Walter Hallow. The name rang a bell, but I didn't chase it. I was thinking about my kid and my grocery list and the way Claire would look at me if I walked away. I rolled Walter to the counter and asked for an accessibility seat on the next train. The clerk barely looked up. That'll be $20, she said. 20. My stomach dropped. Walter's eyes went wet. No, he whispered. I can't take from you. You're not taking, I said. I'm choosing. I heard Claire in my head, clear as ever. If we can help, we help. We figure the rest out later. I put the wrinkled bill on the counter. The ticket printed. Walter stared at it like it was a lifeline. He gripped my wrist. Why would you do that for a stranger? He asked, voice cracking. Because I know what it feels like when the world keeps walking, I said. And today, I can't be one more person who walks. We sat by the window. Walter's wheelchair locked in with a click, and he stared out like he was afraid to blink. For a while we didn't talk. Grief doesn't do small talk. Then Walter nodded at my sunflowers. Her favorite? Yeah, I said. Claire. My son calls them happy flowers. Owen, he repeated. How old? 8. Big heart. Loud opinions. He thinks grilled cheese is a food group. Walter's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Then his eyes drifted to my hands, to the grease that never quite scrubs out, to the wedding ring I still wear. You work hard, he said. Hard enough, I answered. Some weeks I feel like I'm sprinting in sand. He studied me a second. It's the anniversary, he said, not asking. I exhaled. Riverline crash, I admitted. Claire was on the 712. I picked up overtime instead. Walter went still. Riverline, he whispered. My wife was on that train too. Evelyn. The air left my lungs. Evelyn Hallow. He nodded. I ran toward the wreck, he said. They pulled me out. And I couldn't feel my legs. I didn't know what to say. There are moments where words feel disrespectful. So I just sat there, feeling the train move under us, feeling time do that cruel thing where it keeps going no matter what it took from you. Walter wiped his cheek fast. I'm sorry, he said. For your wife. For your son. For yours too, I said. He took a breath that shook. Evelyn used to volunteer at a rehab center, he murmured. She'd come home exhausted and happy, like helping people was oxygen. Claire volunteered at the free clinic, I said. I'd complain about the extra drive, and she'd smile and tell me I could complain while I drove her there. Walter let out a small, broken chuckle. Then his face went tight again. I spent years angry, he admitted. At the company. At the city. At God. At myself. I built everything around control, and then I lost the one thing I couldn't buy back. I stared out the window at the river flashing silver through the trees. I used to think if I worked hard enough, I could outrun the grief, I said. But grief doesn't get tired. Walter nodded. No, he said. It waits. Then he looked at me, really looked. You're doing it alone, he said. I didn't deny it. Owen's a good kid, I said, voice rough. But some nights I sit on the bathroom floor with the shower running just so he won't hear me lose it. Then I wipe my face, walk out, and tell him I'm fine. Walter's eyes shined. That's what good dads do, he said. At Stonebridge, a driver rushed up, panicked, calling Walter's name. Walter motioned to me. This man helped me, he said. The driver looked at me like I'd saved his brother. They offered me a ride to the memorial garden. I almost refused out of reflex, but Walter said, please. Let me do one thing that doesn't feel useless today. So I nodded. The memorial wall was cold under my fingertips. I found Claire's name and traced it. Walter rolled to Evelyn's and placed fresh flowers, hands trembling. We stood there in shared silence. Walter finally said, Evelyn believed people were good. Even when it cost her. I swallowed hard. Claire did too. Walter insisted on driving me home. When we pulled up to my building, Owen was in the window, waving like his whole body was a flag. Walter watched him for a long second, something like longing crossing his face. I reached for the door handle, and Walter cleared his throat. Mason. There's something you should know. I turned. I own Hallow Group, he said. The name clicked. The big transportation and development company with plaques all over Harborview. My stomach dropped. I didn't tell you, he added, tired, because it shouldn't matter. And because I needed to know what would happen if I was just a man in a wheelchair with nothing in his pockets. Part of me bristled at that, like I'd been put in a test I didn't sign up for. But Walter didn't look smug. He looked ashamed, like he hated the world for making money the only language people listened to. Evelyn and I started a foundation, he said. After the crash, I kept writing checks, but I stopped showing up. I stopped feeling. Today you spent your last 20 on me, and it reminded me who she was. And who I'm supposed to be. Then he said the words that made my instincts flare. I want to help you. I shook my head. No. He lifted a hand. Not charity, he said. A job. A project. Something real. He told me about an empty storefront near my place. He wanted to turn it into a community rehab and support clinic in Evelyn's name, and he wanted me running operations because I know how systems break, and I know what it's like to fall through cracks. Then he said, softer, and I want Owen to have what you've been fighting to give him. Lessons, programs, a college fund that doesn't keep you up at night. My throat tightened. Pride told me to refuse. Reality told me my kid shouldn't pay for my pride. So I said, I'll think about it. Walter nodded like that was enough. Promise me one thing, he said. Stop punishing yourself for not being able to build it alone. The next week he invited me downtown. No cameras. No speeches. Just a conference room and 2 plain folders. Set your terms, he said. So I did. I told him I wasn't going to be a mascot. If I took this role, it would be real work with real pay, clear boundaries, and legal protections for Owen's future. The clinic would serve people who actually need it, not become a photo op. Walter listened, then surprised me. He smiled and said, good. That's exactly why I asked you. He slid the offer letter across the table. Salary. Benefits. A training plan. Funding for accessibility upgrades at Harborview Central. The robbery shouldn't have happened, he said. And the way people ignored me shouldn't be normal. I signed. Not because I wanted saving. Because I wanted my son to grow up in a world where kindness doesn't have to cost you your rent. A month later, Owen sat in our kitchen plunking out piano notes on a borrowed keyboard from a community program Walter funded. He played with his whole face, tongue sticking out, serious like it mattered. And for the first time in years, I felt pride that wasn't tangled in survival. But not everyone clapped. A guy at my old weekend job laughed and said, must be nice. You found a rich man to sponsor you. Someone online called me a grifter when a local paper mentioned the clinic. Even Mrs. Klein asked quietly, are you sure he's not buying a replacement family? That question stuck, because it wasn't cruel. It was real. People have seen money used as a leash. People have seen kindness come with conditions. So I'm ending here with a question, not a neat bow. Was Walter wrong for hiding who he was and letting the moment play out? Like a test. Or is it fair to want proof that kindness is real before you trust again? And if you were in my shoes, would you accept help that changes your kid's future? Or would you walk away because pride feels safer? Drop your answer in the comments. Tell me where you land on right versus messy, kindness versus ego, and whether you think wealth can do good without trying to buy redemption. Hit like if you believe small kindness still matters when it costs you, subscribe for more stories like this, and share this with someone who needs the reminder that sometimes life doesn't fix itself all at once. It just sends you one person at the exact moment you're ready to stop walking past.